The ambush, the cargo vessel Frontier Dawn, drifted through the black silence of the outer rim, her hull plates reflecting the distant light of a dying red star. Captain Marcus Reed stood on the bridge, watching the asteroid field slide past on the main viewport. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he didn't care. Out here, 3 weeks from the nearest human colony, small comforts didn't matter much. "Captain, we're approaching the jump point," said Lisa Grant from the navigation console. Her fingers moved across the holographic display with practiced ease. 18 minutes to the marker. Reed nodded. "Good. The sooner we deliver these supplies to Outpost 7, the sooner we can get back to civilization." The Frontier Dawn was a medium-sized freighter, nothing special to look at. Her hull showed the scars of a decade hauling cargo between remote stations. To any observer, she was exactly what she appeared to be, a working ship with a small crew, moving goods through the frontier territories, where pirates and raiders sometimes prowled. Tom Blake, the chief engineer, climbed up from the lower deck, wiping grease from his hands. "Engines are running smooth, Captain. We'll make the jump on schedule." "Any problems with the cargo?" Reed asked. "Just the usual rattling. Whatever they packed in those crates, it's heavy." Tom grinned. "Above my pay grade to ask questions, right?" Reed smiled slightly. "Right." The bridge fell quiet again, except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Outside, the asteroid field stretched for thousands of kilometers, chunks of ancient rock tumbling slowly through the void. Reed had flown this route a dozen times. It was boring, which was exactly how he liked it. Then the proximity alarm screamed. "Contact!" Lisa shouted, her calm demeanor shattering. 3 ships, bearing 270, emerging from the asteroid field. Reed's coffee cup hit the floor. "Battle stations." "Tom, get back to engineering now." The engineer was already running. Reed dropped into his command chair, fingers flying over the controls. The main screen shifted, showing 3 angular warships peeling away from the asteroids, like predators emerging from tall grass. "Identify those ships," Reed ordered. Lisa's face went pale. "Krell Empire signatures, Captain. Military vessels. Destroyer class." Reed's jaw tightened. The Krell were bad news. They'd been raiding the frontier for 3 years, hitting soft targets and disappearing before human patrols could respond. They were hunters who preferred easy prey merchants, colonists, anyone who couldn't fight back. The communication system crackled to life. A harsh, clicking voice filled the bridge, translated by the ship's computer into flat, mechanical English. "Human vessel, you are surrounded. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction. You have 30 seconds to comply." Reed glanced at Lisa. She was already working her console, sending out a distress signal that would take hours to reach anyone who could help. They were alone. "Open a channel," Reed said quietly. "Channel open, Captain." Reed leaned forward. "Krell vessels, this is Captain Marcus Reed of the Frontier Dawn. We're a civilian cargo ship on a registered trade route. We're not carrying weapons or valuable cargo. There's no profit in attacking us." A laugh echoed through the speakers, a wet, clicking sound that made Reed's skin crawl. "Profit? Human. Your ship is profit. Your crew will be sold. Your cargo will be ours. This is Commander Vex of the Krell Empire. You have 20 seconds." The 3 Krell destroyers moved into position, forming a triangle around the Frontier Dawn. Each ship was twice the size of the human vessel, bristling with weapons. Their hulls were dark purple, covered in ridges that looked almost organic. Energy readings spiked as they charged their plasma cannons. Reed's hand hovered over a hidden panel on his armrest. "Commander Vex, let's talk about this. We can negotiate. 10 seconds, human. Then we fire." Lisa looked at Reed, her eyes wide. Captain? Reed's expression went cold and hard. He pressed his palm against the hidden panel. It scanned his handprint and beeped softly. Tom, Reed said into his headset, his voice suddenly carrying the weight of years of military training. Activate Protocol Hammer. Authorization Reed Alpha 7. Through the ship's intercom, Tom's voice came back immediately. Protocol Hammer activated, Captain. All systems hot. The bridge lights shifted from white to red. New displays materialized on every console, showing weapon systems, targeting solutions, and tactical overlays. The gentle hum of the engines changed to a deeper, more powerful growl. "What are you doing?" Lisa whispered. Reed stood up, his casual demeanor gone. When he spoke again, his voice was the voice of someone who'd commanded warships, not cargo haulers. "Lisa, seal all bulkheads and depressurize non-essential compartments. Route all power to shields and weapons. Target the lead ship first." "Captain, we're not a cargo ship," Reed interrupted. "Not really. The Frontier Dawn is a Q ship, a hunter in disguise. And those Krell just made the worst mistake of their lives." Along the hull of the Frontier Dawn, panels slid open. Hidden compartments revealed railgun batteries, missile pods, and point defense turrets. The ship's reactor output doubled, then tripled. What had looked like a helpless merchant vessel suddenly bristled with enough firepower to make a military corvette nervous. On the Krell flagship, Commander Vex saw the transformation on his sensors. His mandibles clicked together in shock. "What is this?" All ships evasive. The Frontier Dawn fired. Railgun slugs screamed across the void at a fraction of light speed. The lead Krell destroyer's shields flared bright blue, then shattered. Metal tore like paper. Atmosphere vented from a dozen breaches. The ship spun wildly, engines sputtering. Reed's voice was ice. "Fire missiles." Full spread. 20 missiles erupted from the Frontier Dawn's hidden launchers, their trails painting white lines across the black. They scattered, confusing the Krell's targeting systems, then converged on the wounded destroyer. The explosions were silent in the vacuum, but brilliant. The Krell ship broke apart, debris spinning away in all directions. "One down," Lisa said, her shock giving way to grim satisfaction. The other two Krell ships opened fire, plasma bolts hammering against the Frontier Dawn's shields. The ship shuddered, but the shields held. "Return fire," Reed ordered. "Show them what happens when they hunt humans." Commander Vex stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His clicking mandibles were frozen. They'd ambushed dozens of human ships. This had never happened before. Never. His communication officer turned to him. "Commander, 2 more human signatures approaching. Fast movers. Military configuration." Vex's blood went cold. This wasn't just a trap. This was a counter-ambush. On the Frontier Dawn, Reed allowed himself a thin smile. "Good. Let them all come." Human Fury. The 2 new contacts blazed across Commander Vex's tactical screen like avenging stars. They weren't cargo ships. These were human patrol corvettes, lean and fast, responding to the Frontier Dawn's distress beacon with the speed of ships that had been waiting for exactly this kind of call. But they were still minutes away. Minutes that felt like hours. Vex's secondary commander, a scarred warrior named Throck, leaned closer. "Commander, we still have numerical advantage. 2 of our destroyers against 1 disguised freighter. We can finish this before their reinforcements arrive." Vex's mandibles clicked in thought. Pride warred with survival instinct. The Krell Empire did not retreat from weaker species. But these humans had just killed 30 of his warriors in seconds. Signal the Bloodfang and Razor Claw. Coordinate fire on that human ship. Overwhelm their shields. And launch boarding pods. "Boarding pods, Commander?" "Yes. Vex's eyes gleamed with predatory hunger. If we cannot destroy their ship quickly, we will take it from the inside. Krell warriors are superior in close combat. Let us see how well these humans fight when we are cutting them apart with our own claws. The two remaining Krell destroyers moved in perfect synchronization. Centuries of pack-hunting tactics coded into their very maneuvers. Plasma cannons fired in alternating patterns, never giving the Frontier Dawn's shields a moment to regenerate. The human ship rocked under the assault, warning klaxons blaring across every deck. "Shields at 60%, Lisa called out, her fingers dancing across her console. Port side taking heavy damage. Reed gripped his armrest. "Tom, I need more power to the shields." "I'm giving you everything she's got, Captain." Tom's voice came through strained. "If I push the reactor any harder, we'll be glowing bright enough to see from Earth." On the viewport, 3 dark shapes detached from the nearest Krell destroyer. Boarding pods armored cylinders designed to pierce a ship's hull and deliver warriors directly into the corridors. They accelerated toward the Frontier Dawn, tiny maneuvering thrusters adjusting their trajectory. "Boarding pods incoming," Lisa reported. "Impact in 20 seconds. Reed's expression hardened. "All hands, prepare for boarders." "Sergeant Morris, you're up." Deep in the ship's armory, Sergeant Jake Morris had already suited up. At 45, he was older than most soldiers, with gray streaking his short-cropped hair. But his hands were steady as he checked his rifle, a human-made weapon that fired magnetically accelerated, rounds capable of punching through combat armor. Human fury. The 2 new contacts blazed across Commander Vex's tactical screen like avenging stars. They weren't cargo ships. These were human patrol corvettes, lean and fast, responding to the Frontier Dawn's distress beacon with the speed of ships that had been waiting for exactly this kind of call. But they were still minutes away. Minutes that felt like hours. Vex's secondary commander, a scarred warrior named Throck, leaned closer. "Commander, we still have numerical advantage. 2 of our destroyers against 1 disguised freighter. We can finish this before their reinforcements arrive." Vex's mandibles clicked in thought. Pride warred with survival instinct. The Krell Empire did not retreat from weaker species. But these humans had just killed 30 of his warriors in seconds. Signal the Bloodfang and Razorclaw. Coordinate fire on that human ship. Overwhelm their shields. And launch boarding pods. "Boarding pods, Commander?" "Yes." Vex's eyes gleamed with predatory hunger. "If we cannot destroy their ship quickly, we will take it from the inside. Krell warriors are superior in close combat. Let us see how well these humans fight when we are cutting them apart with our own claws." The 2 remaining Krell destroyers moved in perfect synchronization. Centuries of pack-hunting tactics coded into their very maneuvers. Plasma cannons fired in alternating patterns, never giving the Frontier Dawn's shields a moment to regenerate. The human ship rocked under the assault, warning klaxons blaring across every deck. "Shields at 60%, Lisa called out, her fingers dancing across her console. "Port side taking heavy damage." Reed gripped his armrest. "Tom, I need more power to the shields." "I'm giving you everything she's got, Captain." Tom's voice came through strained. "If I push the reactor any harder, we'll be glowing bright enough to see from Earth." On the viewport, 3 dark shapes detached from the nearest Krell destroyer. Boarding pods armored cylinders designed to pierce a ship's hull and deliver warriors directly into the corridors. They accelerated toward the Frontier Dawn, tiny maneuvering thrusters adjusting their trajectory. "Boarding pods incoming," Lisa reported. "Impact in 20 seconds. Reed's expression hardened. "All hands, prepare for boarders." "Sergeant Morris, you're up." Deep in the ship's armory, Sergeant Jake Morris had already suited up. At 45, he was older than most soldiers, with gray streaking his short-cropped hair. But his hands were steady as he checked his rifle, a human-made weapon that fired magnetically accelerated, rounds capable of punching through combat armor that around him. 6 security personnel checked their own equipment. They weren't Marines, not officially. The Frontier Dawn was supposed to be a merchant vessel, after all. But every member of the security team had military experience. Some had served in the frontier wars. Others had been colonial defense. All of them knew how to fight. "Listen up," Morris said, his voice carrying the authority of 100 combat drops. "Krell warriors are big, strong, and mean. They've got natural armor plating and claws that can tear through steel. But they're also arrogant. They think strength wins every fight." He slammed a fresh magazine into his rifle. "They're wrong. We use tactics. We use the ship's layout. We make them come to us through narrow corridors where their size works against them. And we do not let a single one of these bastards reach the bridge. Understood?" "Yes, Sergeant." The team responded in unison. The ship shuddered as the first boarding pod struck. Metal screeched as cutting torches activated, burning through the outer hull. Then came the thump of heavy boots hitting the deck. "They're in," Morris said. "Squad 1 with me. Squad 2, guard the junction to engineering. No one gets through." The Krell poured through the breach like a nightmare made flesh. They stood over 7 feet tall, with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws. Their exoskeletons were dark purple and ridged, providing natural armor. Their faces were insectoid, with mandibles that clicked and dripped with digestive fluid. They carried plasma rifles, but Morris knew they preferred to kill with their claws when possible. It was a matter of honor. The lead Krell warrior saw Morris and his team at the end of the corridor. It roared a sound like rocks grinding together and charged. Morris aimed carefully and fired. 3 shots. The first 2 sparked off the Krell's chest armor. The third caught it in the joint, between shoulder and torso. The creature stumbled, but kept coming. "Joints and eyes," Morris shouted. "Aim for the weak points." His team fired in disciplined bursts. The Krell warrior fell, ichor pooling beneath it. But 3 more were already pushing through the breach, and behind them, Morris could hear more cutting through the hull. The corridor erupted in violence. Plasma bolts sizzled past Morris's head, leaving scorch marks on the walls. He ducked behind a support pillar, firing around the corner. One of his soldiers wasn't fast enough. A plasma bolt caught her in the shoulder, spinning her around. She screamed, but kept fighting, switching to her sidearm. The Krell pressed forward with terrifying strength. One of them grabbed a human soldier and lifted him off the ground, mandibles opening wide. Morris put 4 rounds through the creature's head. It dropped, twitching. "Fall back to checkpoint Alpha," Morris ordered. Controlled retreat. The team moved backward through the ship, using every bit of cover. They'd trained for this. Every corner became a kill zone. Every doorway a choke point. The Krell were stronger, but humans were smarter. They'd been fighting wars since they learned to pick up rocks. On the bridge, Reed watched the tactical situation deteriorate. 2 more boarding pods had attached to the ship. The Krell were inside at 3 different points, and his security teams were fighting on multiple fronts. "Shields at 40%, Lisa reported. "Captain, we can't take much more of this." Reed's mind raced. The reinforcements were still 3 minutes out. 3 minutes might as well be 3 hours. He needed to change the equation. "Tom, status on the EMP weapon?" There was a pause. "Captain, that thing is experimental. If it doesn't work, we're dead anyway. Charge it up. Charging now. It'll take 90 seconds, and it's going to drain everything. Shields, weapons, life support, everything." Reed nodded. "Do it." He switched to the ship-wide intercom. All hands, brace for EMP discharge in 90 seconds. Secure all positions and switch to emergency power. Commander Vex saw something change on his sensors. The human ship's power signature was fluctuating wildly, routing massive amounts of energy to a single point near the bow. "What are they doing?" he muttered. "Unknown, Commander," Thrak replied. "But their shields are weakening. We should press the attack. All weapons, focus fire on their bridge section. End this now." The two Krell destroyers unleashed everything they had. Plasma cannons, missile batteries, even their secondary guns. The Frontier Dawn's shields flickered, failed in sections, then collapsed entirely. On the bridge, alarm screamed. A plasma bolt punched through the hull above Lisa's station, depressurizing the command deck. Emergency bulkheads slammed down. The crew switched to helmets, their suits pressurizing automatically. 60 seconds, Tom's voice came through, barely audible over the chaos. Reed watched the Krell ships closing in for the kill. His ship was dying around him. His crew was fighting for their lives in the corridors. Everything depended on the next minute dot in the lower decks. Morris's team had been pushed back to the engineering section. They'd lost 2 soldiers, and the rest were wounded. The Krell warriors kept coming, tireless and brutal. One of them broke through the defensive line, its claws reaching for Morris's throat. He jammed his rifle under its mandibles and pulled the trigger. The creature's head snapped back, and it collapsed. But more were coming. Always more. 30 seconds, Tom announced. Reed's hand hovered over the firing control. Come on, dot. The Krell ships loomed closer, their weapons glowing with ready fire. Commander Vex's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. The humans had fought well, but it was over. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. Reed's finger settled on the control. Hold tight, everyone. This is going to hurt. He pressed the button. Asterisk. Never again. The Frontier Dawn released a wave of electromagnetic energy that rippled outward like an invisible tsunami. The pulse hit the 2 Krell destroyers in less than a second, washing over their hulls with the force of a solar storm compressed into a single moment. Every system on both ships died instantly. Plasma cannons went dark. Engines sputtered and failed. Life support cut out. Navigation computers crashed. The mighty Krell warships became nothing more than tumbling metal coffins, their momentum carrying them forward through the void with no way to stop or steer. Inside the Frontier Dawn, the lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, bathing the corridors in dim red light. The ship's reactor had been drained to nearly nothing, but Tom had routed just enough power to keep critical systems alive. Asterisk. "Status report," he said hoarsely. Lisa's voice came through the emergency comm system. "EMP worked, Captain. Both Krell ships are dead in space. Our shields are down. Weapons are offline, but we're intact. Tom says he can get main power back in 5 minutes. Casualties? 2 dead, 4 wounded. Medical team is responding." Reed closed his eyes briefly. 2 dead. 2 people who'd woken up this morning expecting a boring supply run. What about those reinforcements? 1 minute out, Captain. They're hailing us. Put them through. A new voice crackled over the crisp, professional female. "This is Commander Phillips of the Corvette Vigilant. Nice work, Frontier Dawn. We're coming in to secure the area. Do you need assistance? We've got Krell borders contained and 2 disabled destroyers floating nearby," Reed replied. "We could use a medical team and some engineers." "Copy that. Dispatching now. Admiral Cross wants to speak with whoever's in command of those Krell ships." Reed looked at the drifting destroyers on his viewport. "I think we can arrange that." 20 minutes later, emergency power had been restored throughout the Frontier Dawn. Tom had worked miracles with the reactor. and life support was back to normal. The two human corvettes had taken up defensive positions, and a medical shuttle was ferrying wounded crew members to better facilities. Commander Vex sat in the Frontier Dawn's brig, his 4 arms bound with magnetic restraints. The force field humming in front of his cell was more for show than necessity. He wasn't going anywhere. Around him, 18 surviving Krell warriors sat in similar cells, their natural armor scorched and their pride shattered. The door opened, and Admiral Helen Cross entered. She was in her 60s, with steel-gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, and eyes that had seen 3 decades of frontier conflicts. She wore the dark blue uniform of the human frontier fleet, 3 stars gleaming on her collar. She pulled up a chair and sat down across from Vex's cell, studying him like a scientist examining an interesting specimen. "Commander Vex," she said finally. "That's your name, correct?" Vex's mandibles clicked slowly. "Yes, I am Commander Vex of the Krell Empire, 3rd Rating Fleet. I demand to be treated according to the customs of war." "Of course. We're not barbarians." Cross leaned back. "I have some questions. First, why did you attack a human vessel in neutral space?" Vex's insectoid eyes showed something that might have been confusion. "Why? Because you were there. Because you were weak. Because taking your ship and crew would bring profit and honor to my fleet. And did you think about the consequences?" "Consequences?" Vex's mandibles spread in what might have been a bitter laugh. "We have raided human ships 17 times in the past 3 years. Small vessels, lightly armed. You never fought back. You always surrendered or ran. We thought you were a weak species. Traders and explorers with soft bodies and softer spirits." Cross nodded slowly. "I see. And now?" "Now I understand we were wrong." Vex's voice dropped. "That was not a cargo ship. That was a warship in disguise. And you were waiting for us." "Yes, we were." Cross pulled out a tablet and tapped it. A holographic display materialized between them, showing the battle from multiple angles. "We've been tracking your raids for months. We knew your patrol routes, your tactics, your preferences. The Frontier Dawn was bait, Commander. And you bit." Vex watched the playback of his ships being destroyed. His mandibles clicked in what might have been shame. "You hunted us. Like we were prey." "We defended ourselves," Cross corrected. "There's a difference. But I want you to understand something, Commander, because you're going to carry a message back to your empire." She stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. "Humans are relatively new to the galactic community. We've only been out here for 50 years. Most species see us as young, inexperienced, easy targets. But here's what they don't understand about us." She turned back to face him. "We come from a death world, Commander. Earth might look beautiful, but it's killed 99% of every species that ever evolved there. Predators, diseases, ice ages, droughts, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts. And humans survived all of it. We didn't survive by being the biggest or the strongest. We survived by being stubborn, adaptable, and absolutely refusing to quit." Cross tapped her tablet again. The hologram shifted, showing images from Earth's history. Ancient wars, medieval battles, modern conflicts. "We've been fighting each other for 10,000 years, Commander. We've developed weapons that can crack planets. We've created military strategies that would make your empire's generals weep. And we've done it all while fighting ourselves." She leaned closer to the cell. "So when a species like yours decides to prey on us, you're not attacking peaceful merchants. You're poking a sleeping tiger. And now the tiger is awake." Vex stared at the images. Humans in armor, humans with weapons, humans standing over defeated enemies throughout their history. So much violence. So much death. All of it directed at each other for millennia. "What will happen to me?" He asked quietly. "You'll be returned to your empire with a message. The attacks stop now, today, or the next ship you attack won't be disguised. It'll be a battle group, and we won't take prisoners." Cross stood. "We don't want war with the Krell. We don't want war with anyone. We came out here to explore, to trade, to learn. But if you force our hand, we'll fight. And we'll win. Because that's what humans do." She walked to the door, then paused. "Oh? Can Commander? Every species in the galaxy is going to hear about what happened here today. They're going to hear that you attacked a single human ship with 3 destroyers, and you lost. They're going to hear that you boarded the ship with your best warriors, and they lost. Make sure they also hear this. It didn't have to happen. You chose this." The door closed behind her. 3 days later, the footage spread across the galactic networks. Every species with access to hyperspace communication saw the battle. They saw the Frontier Dawn transform from prey to predator in seconds. They saw the Krell destroyers fall. They saw human soldiers fighting off borders, twice their size with tactics and determination. The Krell Empire issued a formal statement within a week. All raids on human vessels would cease immediately. They offered compensation for previous attacks and proposed a non-aggression treaty. The Imperial Senate ratified it with unusual speed. No one wanted to be the next Krell commander who underestimated humanity. Other species took note. Merchants who'd been considering piracy against human trading vessels reconsidered. Empires who'd been planning expansion into human-claimed space adjusted their borders. Even the powerful Jalax Concordat, who'd never seen humans as equals, sent diplomatic overtures proposing mutual defense agreements. The galaxy had learned a lesson. Back on the Frontier Dawn, repairs were nearly complete. Captain Reed stood in the cargo bay, watching engineers patch the holes left by Krell boarding pods. Tom stood beside him, a tablet in hand showing damage reports. "We're going to be docked for another week," Tom said. "The hull breaches are sealed, but the reactor needs a complete overhaul after that EMP stunt. Plus, we need to replace about 40% of our outer armor plating." "Worth it," Reed said simply. Lisa approached from behind, limping slightly from a bruised hip. "Captain, I just got word from Fleet Command. They're officially commissioning 12 more Q-ships. Apparently, our little ambush worked better than anyone expected." Reed smiled slightly. "Good. The more traps we set, the fewer species will think about raiding us. Are we still delivering supplies to Outpost 7? Tom asked. "Eventually. First, we're picking up some new crew members to replace." Reed's voice trailed off. He didn't need to finish the sentence. They all knew who he meant. The 3 stood in silence for a moment, remembering their fallen comrades. Then the intercom crackled. "Captain Reed, you have an incoming call from Admiral Cross." Reed tapped his comm badge. "Put her through." The Admiral's face appeared on a nearby screen. "Captain, I wanted to inform you personally. The 2 crew members who died in the action Petty Officer David Chun and Specialist Amanda Cole are being awarded the Frontier Star posthumously. The ceremony will be held at Fleet Headquarters in 2 weeks. I hope you and your crew can attend." "We'll be there, Admiral," Reed said quietly. "Good. And Captain? What you and your people did out here. It matters. You didn't just win a battle. You changed how the galaxy sees us. Every human out here is safer because of what happened on your ship. We were just doing our job, Admiral." Cross smiled. "That's exactly what makes you dangerous, Captain. You make it look easy." The call ended. Reed turned to his crew. "All right, people. Let's get this ship repaired and ready. We've got supplies to deliver and a galaxy to explore. And if anyone else wants to pick a fight." He paused, his expression hardening. "Well, they know where to find us." Tom grinned. Think anyone will be stupid enough to try? Eventually, Reed said. There's always someone who thinks they're tougher than the last guy. But they'll learn. They all learn. He looked out through the cargo bay doors at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, species were watching, calculating, deciding whether humans were worth the risk. Reed hoped they'd choose peace. But if they chose violence, humanity would be ready, because that's what humans did. They adapted. They survived. They fought when necessary, and they never, ever gave up. Asterisk.